They kicked me out after I handed them $72,000 over 3 years. And the messed up part, I still blamed myself at first. Last week was Christmas. And let me tell you, I've been through some weird family holidays before. But this one broke something in me that I didn't even know could break. Let me back up a second. My name's Ethan Carter. I'm 35, single, live in San Diego, and I work in medical tech sales. Sounds fancy, but I built this whole thing from the dirt up. Back in 2015, I was living out of a Honda Civic, literally, eating protein bars from gas stations and showering at Planet Fitness. Commission-only gig. Trying to sell surgical tools to hospitals who didn't even want to take meetings with me. I was broke, exhausted, and way too proud to ask anyone for help. Meanwhile, my parents, Harold and Denise, were running this antique furniture gallery in Savannah. They weren't rich, but their business had been around forever and had a decent reputation. They always thought I was nuts for leaving a secure office job to go full-on commission. Ethan, why can't you just get a normal job like other people? That was their favorite line. But screw that. I didn't want normal. I wanted more. I wanted to wake up and actually like who I saw in the mirror. Fast forward a few years. After enough 4A, mornings, cold calls, and fake smiling my way through hospital lobbies, I finally made it. Closed a few big accounts, built a solid rep, started pulling in real money, high 6 figures now. No wife, no kids, just a decent house, a great gym, and peace of mind. Then COVID hit. My parents' shop took a major hit. No walk-in traffic, no custom orders. They called me crying, saying they didn't know how they were going to pay their rent or keep the lights on. My mom sounded so small, like I'd never heard her before. So I stepped in. Told them I'd send them $2,000 a month until things got better. At the time, it didn't even feel like a choice. They raised me, right, gave me everything they could when I was a kid. Public schools, yes. Hand-me-downs, sure, but I never went hungry. I felt like I owed them. First few months, they were grateful. My mom would call me in tears just saying thank you. My dad said I was the real man of the family. Made me feel like I was finally seen for the grind they used to mock. But gratitude has a short shelf life. After about 6 or 7 months, the tone shifted. The thank yous disappeared. The calls started to sound more like invoice reminders. Then came the guilt trips. Jake's been struggling too. You know, Jake, my little brother, the pride of my parents' denial. Let me paint you a picture of Trevor, aka Jake 2.0, 32 years old. Lives in their basement, calls himself a digital entrepreneur, which basically means he streams video games and posts crypto memes on Twitter. Hasn't had a full-time job in over a decade. Meanwhile, he's asking for donations on his Twitch stream while I'm standing in an operating room at 8 p.m., making sure the spinal implant I sold doesn't malfunction during surgery. Trevor's career highlights a total of 15 viewers on one stream, most of them probably bots. Yet he walks around like he's building the next meta. You can't make this up. Anyway, I kept sending the money. Every month. $2,000. No questions asked. 3 years straight. That's $72,000. You know what that money could have done for me? That's a down payment on a beach condo. That's a sabbatical I never took. That's the sleep I lost so they didn't have to. I didn't even notice the resentment creeping in until it started showing up in weird ways. I'd skip replacing worn-out tires just to make sure their check went out early. I wore the same 2 suits for 2 years while my dad started rocking an Apple Watch, and my mom suddenly had a new sectional in the living room. I wanted to believe they were just being optimistic, treating themselves a little while riding out the hard times. But deep down, something felt off. Especially with how hard they kept pushing for me to come home for Christmas this year. We miss you. Jake really wants to see you, My mom even asked what time my flights were arriving when I never even booked one. That's when I should have known. So I did what any loyal idiot son would do. I bought them a damn TV. Not just any TV. A $1.800 OLED beast. I wanted them to feel proud of me. You know, to feel like their son made it. Stupid, right? Christmas Eve. I drove 8 hours with that thing crammed into the back seat of my car. The house looked the same from the outside. Inside. Not so much. Jake had turned the living room into a scene from a streamer's wet dream. RGB lights, triple monitors, new camera rig. The TV wasn't even out of the box before he was already talking about mounting it in his studio. Dinner was tense. I barely got 2 words out of my dad. Jake cracked jokes about me being corporate and soulless. My mom just kept smiling like nothing was weird. Then, mid-dinner, Trevor drops it. Must be nice having all that extra cash while your family's scraping by. I literally paused mid-chew. Was this dude serious? Then my dad puts down his fork and says, "Son, we need to talk about the monthly support. We think it's time to adjust the amount." Adjust like, how? We think 4,000s would be more appropriate. Yup, they wanted to double the amount. Right there, at Christmas dinner. With dry turkey still in my mouth. My mom chimes in, Jake needs startup capital. He's doing great with his online business. I looked at his hoodie fake Supreme and the $300 mic sitting on the table. I saw red. My hands were shaking. Not from rage, but disbelief. I didn't blow up. I didn't make a scene. I just stood up, walked to the tree, and placed the envelope with the receipts and the TV warranty on the mantle. I turned to them and said, "You've taken enough." Then I walked out. Last Christmas wasn't just a holiday disaster, it was a hard reset. I got back to San Diego at around 2 a.m. the next morning. Too wired to sleep, too exhausted to think. I just sat in my kitchen, hoodie still on, staring at the TV box I never even got to unwrap for them. That thing had a bow on it. A literal bow. You ever get hit with the kind of silence that feels heavy? That's where I was. No music. No background noise, just me and the weight of realizing I'd been played for 3 damn years. The first couple days after that were a blur. I kept going through the motions, client calls, hospital rounds, workout sessions at 5 a.m., but I wasn't really in it. I couldn't stop running the dinner conversation in my head. The way Jake smirked when he said I had extra cash. The way my dad refused to make eye contact. Like he knew what they were doing was foul but wouldn't own up to it. By the 3rd day, something in me flipped. I stopped being stunned and started getting pissed. And not just surface-level angry. No, this was deep. Like betrayal sinking into your bones kind of angry. So I started digging. The first crack came from pure coincidence. I was at the gym fancy spot near the hospital. Great towels, cold eucalyptus rags. The works. I was mid-deadlift set when I heard someone call out, "Ethan." I turned around. It was Mike Peterson, high school buddy. Now a hotshot real estate agent doing luxury properties. We did the usual sweaty man hug catch-up, and then he drops this, "Hey, I saw your folks last week. Said they were checking out some retirement spots down in Florida, Naples. I think lucky them." I froze. Naples. Retirement. What the hell? Mike kept talking, something about how the market's crazy. Great time to sell. Blah, blah. But I didn't hear the rest. My brain was spinning. My broke. Struggling parents were shopping for homes in Florida while still cashing $2,000 checks from me. I cut the convo short, made up an excuse, and left. I didn't even finish my set. That night, I opened a spreadsheet. Yeah, I'm that guy. Salespeople, we love our damn spreadsheets. I pulled every bank statement, every Venmo transaction, every Amazon receipt I could find that was even remotely connected to them. I just needed something to make sense. And that's when it all started unraveling. First red flag, Jake's Amazon reviews. Yup, he writes reviews. like he's a sponsored tech YouTuber or something. Each expensive item, camera gear, streaming lights, high-end mic systems, they all lined up suspiciously close to my monthly transfers. Like clockwork. Second flag, the email thread. I remembered once my mom had accidentally CC'd me on a message to their old business broker. I searched my inbox, found it buried in the trash folder. From August. She'd asked him for advice on how to maximize profit before listing. August. They sold their antique gallery in September. 3 months ago. So while they were crying to me on the phone about bills and sacrifices, they were already in escrow and probably walking away with 6 figures or more. At that point, it wasn't just about the money. It was about what they thought of me. Like I was so gullible they didn't even have to try to hide it. The next day, I called Tom, a friend of mine who works at the bank. We've played poker together for years, and he owed me a favor for covering his buy-in last month. "Hey man," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "Weird question. My parents used to run that antique spot on Oglethorpe Street, right? You know anything about the sale?" Tom paused. Yeah. I think they closed on it in early fall. Heard it was a pretty solid deal." "Like, solid how?" He hesitated again. "Let's just say they're not hurting." I thanked him, hung up, and stared at the wall for a solid 5 minutes. Not hurting, but still taking my money. So I made one more call. This time to Sarah. We dated for a bit last year, didn't work out. But no hard feelings. She works in real estate, too. Knew the market inside and out. "Hey," I asked casually, "you remember my folks' gallery? Any idea what it went for?" She laughed. "Can't give you exact numbers, confidentiality and all, but let's just say they could have retired twice over." Twice over. My jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd chip a molar. After that, it became obsession. I went through Jake's social media accounts. All of them. Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. The captions made me want to throw my laptop out the window. Hard work pays off. Building my empire one stream at a time. Real ones invest in themselves. I wanted to scream. The only thing that paid off was my hard work, my commissions. He was investing my money in his fantasy of being famous for yelling at a screen in LED lighting. Then came the final straw. I was scrolling Facebook, yes. I still use it. Don't judge me. And I saw something that stopped me cold. It was a listing on the marketplace. Selling a brand new Christmas sweater. The same one I'd given my mom the year before. Still had the tag on it. Listed 2 days after Christmas. Price $20. Description: unwanted gift. Never worn. That did it. That broke me. The months I'd delayed dental appointments. The vacations I never took. The times I said no to things I wanted, just to make sure that $2,000 went out on time. And they couldn't even pretend to appreciate a sweater. I stayed up that whole night, rewriting texts, drafting emails I never sent. I didn't sleep, just paced the house, fists clenched, mind racing. By sunrise, I'd made a decision. No more guilt. No more asking why. No more letting these people pretend this was ever about love or support. It was about control, and I was done playing the role of loyal, obedient son. I pulled together everything. The spreadsheet, the receipts, the email threads. I printed it all out, organized by date, marked with highlights. Then I got in my car and drove 8 hours again. When I pulled into their driveway, I saw a new BMW parked there. Of course. Jake's voice echoed from inside the house. He was live, streaming some nonsense about personal development. My dad was in the living room on his phone, Mom sitting there like she had no clue what was coming. I walked in, didn't say a word, just dropped a fat envelope on the coffee table, thick with truth. They looked confused, nervous. "Ethan, sweetheart," my mom started, but I cut her off. "No, you talk when I'm done." My dad straightened up like he was ready to lecture me. "Don't." I opened the folder, pulled out the bank records. "These," I said, "are every transfer I made. $2,000. Every month. Never late. Total 72,000. Mom opened her mouth. I held up a hand. These, I continued, flipping to the next set, are purchase receipts. Jake's Amazon history. Equipment. Furniture. Electronics. Bought within days of my deposits. Oh. Jake stood up. Dude, you're making this weird. I turned to him. No, you made this weird when you bought a $400 mic with money meant for rent. Then the sweater listing. Then the email from August. I laid them out like court evidence. When I was done, the room was dead silent. Mom was crying, not fake tears, real ones. My dad looked like someone had deflated him. And Jake. Jake tried to play it cool. Well, maybe you should have asked where it was going. I stared at him. You mean maybe I should have assumed my own family would lie to me for 3 years straight? No one answered, so I gave them the final word. This ends now. No more checks. No more guilt. No more pretending you didn't know what you were doing. Jake mumbled something under his breath. I didn't catch it, and I didn't care. I walked out. No hug, no fake goodbye. Just grabbed the bow from the TV box still unopened in the hallway and tossed it in the trash on my way out. Next part. That's where things got really interesting. It's funny how cutting people off doesn't always bring peace right away. For the first few days after I confronted my family, I felt hollow. Not relieved, not proud, just numb. I kept thinking they'd call. Or text. Or at least send a half-assed apology. But there was nothing. Radio silence. Which somehow made it worse. Like they knew what they did, but weren't going to give me the satisfaction of even pretending to regret it. I went back to my routine. Woke up at 4:30, hit the gym by 5. My body did what it always did, sets. Reps. Cold shower, suit on. But my head wasn't in it. Even in the OR, watching a spinal fusion case, I was drifting. Not outwardly. Of course. I'm a pro. I know when to nod, when to offer product guidance. But inside, I was still standing in that living room, watching Jake sink into the couch like a cockroach under a spotlight. 3 days later, I got my first update. I was grabbing coffee with Nina, one of the nurses I work with. She's sharp, no BS, always knows what's happening in town. So, she said over her Americano, "Heard a little something about your folks." I blinked. Yeah, they're trying to sell that fancy new BMW your dad drives. Word is, they're strapped. I didn't react, just nodded and sipped my cold brew. But inside, that was the first flicker of satisfaction I'd felt in weeks. Turns out, without my monthly donation, they couldn't keep up the lifestyle. Their so-called retirement plan wasn't nearly as stable as they let on. The gallery sale money already burned through, apparently. Between Jake's startup costs and their Florida fantasy, they'd gone all in and lost. How do I know? Because 2 days after that coffee, I got a message. Not a text, not a voicemail. An email to my work address. Subject line: urgent family matter. From Denise Carter. That was my mom, using my full name, reaching through my professional channel, because I'd blocked her everywhere else. I didn't want to open it, but I did. Because I had to see it for myself. The email was something else. First paragraph, the usual guilt bait. We know things have been tense lately, and we're hoping you'll remember the importance of family. Second paragraph, the plea. Your father's car is in danger of being repossessed. We may have to sell the house. We were counting on your help. Ethan. Third paragraph, the offer. If you're willing to assist with the mortgage for just 6 more months, we would be open to signing partial ownership of the house over to you. It's still your home. After all, still, my home. I almost laughed. Out loud. In the middle of my office. This house, the one where they lied to my face, gaslit me into believing they were broke, and tried to squeeze me for $4,000 a month, was now a bargaining chip. A burnt-down ship they were trying to sell me pieces of, like I'd be stupid enough to rebuild it. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to myself. Subject line changed to "Reminder never again." The following week, I heard from an old mutual friend who worked at the same local bank as my dad's car loan. Small world. Turns out, The BMW had been leased on a high monthly payment plan they never should have qualified for. Without my deposits, they defaulted in 30 days. Meanwhile, Jake went dark on Instagram. Twitch channel inactive. His followers, what few real ones there were, started asking questions. The fake engagement dried up quick once he couldn't afford to buy bot traffic. His empire fell apart like wet cardboard. I found his eBay profile by accident. Username matched one he used for a gaming forum. He was selling off his gear piece by piece. The camera I watched him unbox 2 Christmases ago, $150. The mic he bragged about during our last family call, $90 gently used. The streamer setup he built with my money was now being liquidated so he could afford rent in someone else's basement. The karma wasn't just poetic, it was mathematically precise. But that's not even the best part. 2 weeks after the email, I got a call from Sarah, the real estate agent I dated last year. Remember her? She was giggling. "Oh my God, Ethan, you will not believe who just walked into my office." I already knew, but I let her tell me anyway. Your mom and Jake, looking to list the house. Apparently they need to downsize. I leaned back in my chair, letting that sentence sink in. It tasted sweeter than any client bonus I'd ever received. They asked if we offer short-term rental advice. Sarah continued. Said they're thinking about converting the garage into an Airbnb. Of course they were. The desperation was setting in. And it wasn't just financial. Their image, the one they'd built for years as this quirky, lovable family with the ambitious older son and creative younger one, was cracking. They used to show off my success at church events. Ethan works with surgeons. My dad used to tell people I was the reason they could retire early. Guess he forgot to mention it was because I was bankrolling the illusion. And now they were trying to hold on to that illusion by selling off the set pieces. The TV, the one I brought for Christmas. They tried to flip it on Facebook Marketplace. Same wrapping still on it. Listed it for $2,000 like new. Only used once. Someone sent me the link. I reported it. Petty, sure. Satisfying immensely. I never told Sarah what had happened. She didn't need the details, but she knew enough to add the final touch. They looked tired. Ethan, she said. Like, it finally hit them. Good. Because it had hit me too, in the form of sleepless nights, canceled vacations, a gut full of swallowed resentment. But here's what really brought it full circle. A few days ago, I got another email. This one from Jake. No subject line, just a blank email with a link. I clicked it, curious, not hopeful. It was a YouTube video. Jake, sitting in his stripped-down room. No lights. No overlays. No energy drinks in the background. Just him. In a hoodie. Talking directly to the camera. Hey, guys. Just wanted to say I'm stepping away from streaming for a while. Gotta focus on some real-life stuff. Appreciate everyone who supported me. That was it. 1 minute, 20 seconds. No outro. No call to action. No fake tears. Just a guy who finally realized the show was over. I didn't comment. Didn't like. Didn't even watch it twice. Because I didn't need to. That silence, the one that used to haunt me, now it felt earned. They weren't my burden anymore. A month passed. No calls. No texts. Not even another urgent email. I thought maybe, just maybe, they finally got it. That I was done. That the ATM was closed permanently. Then I got the package. It showed up at my office one morning. Unmarked box. No return address. Just my name. Scribbled on the label in handwriting I'd recognize anywhere. Mom's. I stared at it for a minute. My gut said toss it in the trash. But curiosity, that old bastard, still had a grip on me. Inside was a shoebox. And inside that shoebox, photos. Dozens of them. Me as a baby. Holding my first wrestling trophy. High school graduation. Me. Age 12, passed out on the couch with Jake draped across my lap like a puppy. A few notes in Mom's handwriting, too. You were always the strong one. We only wanted to give Jake a chance, like we gave you. You're not just our son, you're our foundation. Manipulation disguised as nostalgia, emotional blackmail wrapped in Kodak gloss. At the very bottom was a card, Hallmark, cheap. Inside it said, "We're sorry. Can we start over?" No signatures, no names. Just that one sentence, sitting there like it meant something. I closed the card and put the box back together. Then I walked it outside and dropped it straight into the dumpster behind the building. Because here's what that box really said. "We still think we can get to you." They didn't want to rebuild, they wanted a reset. Pretend none of it happened. That it was just a misunderstanding. A blip. A bad chapter we could skip. But I wasn't the same guy anymore. This whole thing had stripped something from me. Or maybe it revealed what had always been true. That my family saw me as a resource, not a person. And I'm not just talking about the money. It's the way they treated my time like it didn't matter. The way they expected me to show up, pay up, shut up. Like my needs were optional. Like my boundaries were flexible depending on their mood or their financial status. It was never really about Jake's dreams or the pandemic or the business struggles. It was about control. The subtle, suffocating kind that's coated in love. I didn't want revenge, not the Hollywood kind, anyway. I wanted to reclaim my peace. And that meant one final move. See? I'd been thinking about something ever since Christmas. A conversation I had with my therapist last year, actually. She said, "You don't heal by getting even. You heal by living without needing the apology." At the time, I thought that sounded like loser talk. Now, it felt like a challenge. So I made a decision. I went to a local nonprofit, a group that helps kids who've aged out of foster care but still need support getting on their feet. I asked if they took donations for things like rent, education, clothes. They did. So I set up a fund, $72,000, the exact amount I gave my family. It was poetic, clean, whole. I even gave the fund a name, the Carter Reset Fund. And under the About section on the website, I wrote, "For the ones who gave without being seen. For the sons and daughters who were only loved conditionally. This is for you." I didn't tell anyone, not my coworkers, not my friends. I didn't make a post about it. It wasn't for likes, it was for me. But of course, news gets around. About 2 weeks after the fund launched, I got a message from, of all people, my old church pastor back in Savannah. "Ethan, just saw what you did. Beautiful, powerful. I'm proud of you, son." It hit different. Coming from someone who used to pat me on the back every Sunday while praising my parents for raising such a responsible boy. Guess that illusion's gone now. Apparently, word spread. Some of the church members started asking questions. Why didn't Harold and Denise mention the fund? Why weren't they involved? Why had they told everyone Ethan was helping them because he wanted to stay connected? I heard through the grapevine they stopped going to church. Too much whispering, maybe. Jake, he tried a comeback. Started posting TikToks about financial resilience and the truth about passive income. I watched one, just one. In it, he's sitting in a dimly lit room, trying to look wise. He says, "Sometimes your own family will betray you." No irony, no self-awareness. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Then I blocked him again. Look, I don't know if they'll ever understand what they did. I'm not sure they're capable of it. Some people cling so hard to the version of themselves they want to believe in. They'll burn every bridge just to keep the illusion alive. But here's what I do know. I sleep better now. I don't flinch every time my phone buzzes. I don't grind my teeth at night thinking about bank transfers and guilt-ridden phone calls. I don't skip buying new shoes because someone else needs it more. I reclaimed that space, that breath, that choice. And maybe that's not revenge in the way people expect it. But damn, it feels good. The last thing I did, I sent them one final message. Not a text, not an email. A handwritten note, just like the one in that box. It said, "The person you raised doesn't exist anymore. But thank you. Because the man I became wouldn't fall for this again." No return address. Let them sit with it. 3 months after I sent that final note, I got another envelope in my mailbox. No return address again. But this time, the handwriting was Jake's. I recognized the messy capital letters right away. That weird mix of trying to look casual but always pressing too hard with the pen. I almost didn't open it, but screw it. Curiosity won. Inside was a single page, front and back. It wasn't handwritten, it was printed, like he'd typed it up, edited it, maybe even spell-checked it, which was a first. The first paragraph was almost normal, apologetic, even. Ethan, I don't know how to say any of this, and I doubt you even care anymore. But I figured you deserved at least one real explanation. I kept reading, and the further I went, the more surreal it felt. Jake admitted everything. The manipulation. The lies. The guilt-tripping. He wrote that he knew about the gallery sale from the beginning, and that he'd encouraged Mom and Dad to keep me in the loop, selectively. His words, not mine. He said at first it was about survival, that they really were scared during COVID, but once the money kept coming, they all kind of leaned into it. It was like we started believing it was your job to help us. That because you made it, we didn't have to. He didn't ask for forgiveness. That shocked me more than anything. I don't expect you to ever talk to me again. Honestly, I wouldn't if I were you. I just wanted you to know I see it now. Everything. What we did. What I became. Then came the line that stuck with me. You didn't just send money, Ethan. You sent trust, and we spit on it. I sat with that line for a while. Read it again. Then again. I wasn't crying, but something shifted. Not relief, not closure, just an understanding. Like a window cracked open that had been sealed shut for too long. Still, I didn't respond. Not because I was holding a grudge, but because I didn't need to. Some debts can't be paid back with words. Jake's letter didn't fix anything, but it was a start. And honestly, I was more interested in what came next. Because while all that was going on, I'd been building something else. See, I didn't just donate the $72,000 and call it a day. I started meeting the people that fund actually helped. There was Jordan, 19, who'd been couch surfing since she aged out of foster care. The Carter Reset Fund covered her first 3 months of rent. And Malik, 22, working 2 jobs and sleeping in his car. We paid for his community college tuition. They weren't blood, but they were family in a way I'd never had. Grateful, resilient, humble. Every time I got an update from the foundation director, it reminded me that cutting my parents off wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about rebuilding. Funny thing is, word of the fund started getting around online. One blog picked it up. Then a podcast. Then a small local news station wanted to do a segment. I declined the interview. Told them I wanted the story to be about the people being helped, not the guy who wrote the check. But I did send them a quote. Sometimes you have to lose a family to build a community. That one got shared around a lot. Especially on Reddit. Weirdly enough, a week after that segment aired, I got another email. Not from Jake, not from my parents, from my aunt, my dad's sister. We hadn't spoken in over a decade. Not since some random family barbecue where Jake spilled soda on her white jeans and Mom accused her of overreacting. She wrote, I saw what you did. I always knew you were the one holding everything together. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. Your dad. He was always so proud of you, but he never knew how to say it without turning it into a lecture. She told me she hadn't spoken to them in over a year, said she'd tried to call them out about the money before, but Mom shut her down. And then she dropped something else. They're selling the house. Word is it's not going well. Florida deal fell through, and now they owe more than they made. That part didn't surprise me, but what did? Apparently, they tried to use my name again, claimed I'd co-signed something, that I'd committed to helping with mortgage transfers. It was all crap, but it pissed off the buyer enough to walk away from the sale. Karma, baby. You can only ride someone's reputation for so long before the wheels fall off. But here's the kicker. Remember that TV I bought them? The one they tried to sell? They did sell it eventually, but not online. Not through Facebook Marketplace. Nope, they sold it to their church. A donation that they charged $900 for. I know because the church treasurer, who I randomly connected with through the foundation, emailed me to say thanks. The Carters said this was a family gift, passed on with love. Figured you'd want to know. I stared at that email for a full 10 minutes. Then I replied, "They're not wrong. It was a gift, just not for them anymore." I didn't care about the TV. I cared about the lie. The need to control the narrative. To look generous while being anything but. But you know what? Let them have it. Let them sell the scraps of what used to be a relationship. Because I've moved on. That same week, the foundation helped its 10th student get emergency housing. We hit our first major donor milestone, 100K total raised. I celebrated by doing something I hadn't done in years. I booked a vacation. No guilt. No what if someone needs me thoughts. No calculations in my head about who I'm letting down by spending money on myself. I flew to Colorado, rented a cabin, turned my phone off. I read books, went hiking, slept 10 hours a night, ate whatever I wanted, no macros, no meal prep, no work emails. I was off the grid for 6 days straight, and for the first time in over a decade, I didn't feel responsible for anyone else's happiness. I didn't feel like I owed anyone my peace just because we shared DNA. That's what freedom felt like. And when I got home, there was another letter waiting. From my mom, handwritten, 4 pages. But this time, I didn't open it. Because that chapter's closed. And I'm finally okay with that.